I'm back. This is a thoughts video. I like to share some thoughts. Actually, I got two videos on that notebook that I need to get off, so I figure I kill two birds with one stone and combine them into one video. That way I'll save me some space and a whole lot of agony. I'm going to talk about two topics. One, my thoughts on the Resident Evil movies and the idea for a Resident Evil television series. Let's get started with the television series. Would it have been cool if Capcom actually made a CGI or a live action television show based off the Resident Evil series? It don't have to be following the storylines of the games, just basically you can tell some origins, like the origins of Umbrella and the origins of Stars. If they do make a CGI feature, I'd like for the actors from the video game series to reprise their roles in it, and it's not going to be just following one set of characters. Why not have them all, like Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Claire Redfield, Leon S. Kennedy, Billy Cullen, Rebecca Chambers? Yes, I said Billy Collins. It'd be interesting to see how, from what I understand in the Resident Evil Zero series game, he's an ex-Marine who was sentenced to death, and then he escapes because a group of zombies or dogs attacked the guards that was taking him for execution, and he found refuge on a train. Unfortunately, it was basically a zombie-filled train, and he saves Rebecca's life in the train from being attacked by a zombie. So the two have no choice but to join forces. And in a situation like that, better trust somebody. Sometimes the best thing to do is to trust somebody who has nothing to, Billy Collins is a man he was probably doomed either way, so he would at least done something honorable by helping somebody out. And from what I understand, he was basically following orders, and he just ended up being in the wrong place at the wrong moment. That's what from what I understand. It would be interesting. I think it'd just be interesting to have a CGI feature talking about each character, like Jill, Chris, Barry, Rebecca, and others. It'd just be an interesting television series. Heck, I would watch it. I would watch it every night if I could, if they made the series. I just think it would be an interesting idea. Basically, have a series based off Resident Evil, which is a video game legend, probably the best survival horror game. Actually, it was the series that created the survival horror genre, even though most fans would disagree that Alone in the Dark started the genre. But the developers of Alone in the Dark gave Capcom a round of applause for making a game so scary. You could look at both games and there's some similarities, but then again, look at how many games now came along ripped off Resident Evil. But basically the point is, Alone in the Dark and Resident Evil were some of the games that got people to be scared. So basically, for argument's sake, it's best to agree to disagree. That's just my opinion. That's the best way to solve an argument, is to agree to disagree. That way both sides would be happy. But if y'all like to see a Resident Evil live action series, comment below and tell me what you would like to see in the series. Now let's get on to the live action movies. There's been 5 if you count the CGI movie. They have Resident Evil, Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Station, Resident Evil Afterlife. Those are the 4 series. And they had a CGI movie called Resident Evil Degenerate. This may be the best out. But let me get something. I'm not hating on anybody. This is just my opinions on the television, on the series. Well, here's what the first Resident Evil movie was directed by Paul Anderson, who is, in my opinion, the best director for video games. They made a video game based off Twisted Metal, and it was directed by Paul. I would go see it because I'm a Twisted Metal fan, and Paul actually would honor the game. And And here's what Paul did. He spent 6 months playing the first Resident Evil game. 6 or 3 months, I don't remember from an interview, but anyway, he said he spent time playing the game. He literally spent 9 days playing that game, and then he decided he wanted to make a movie out of it, because in the game, first game, you go into the woods because your team was abandoned by the helicopter pilot, which was Brad. Just FYI, but anyway, they ran into a mansion, and then when they thought it was safe, it was full of zombies, dogs, creatures. And Paul wanted to make a movie, the first movie, based off what originally happened, because the backstory, according to him, was never fully explained until Resident Evil 0. They originally had George A. Romero, who was another inspiration for Paul to make the first Resident Evil movies, because he wanted to do a movie genre that hadn't been done for so long. And George, from what I understand, made an exact script like the first Resident Evil game, and Capcom was not happy with it because they figured the fans. Here's why Capcom wasn't happy with it, is because they figured that they wouldn't sell any games because the fans would just go see the movie so they wouldn't have to play the game to understand what was going on. That's what Capcom was not happy with, was making a script based off the game, because the fans were probably going to be disappointed, and vice versa, because they're going to know this character was going to live, this character was going to get killed, that was going to happen, this was going to happen. Basically, Capcom didn't want to make a movie based off the game, first game, because they figured the fans wouldn't buy the games, they'd just go see the movies. And that's why I'll give Resident Evil, the first movie, a round of applause, because they actually were doing a good job. Even though it wasn't well received at the box office, it was one of the best selling DVDs. And when Resident Evil Apocalypse was my favorite out of the 4, basically because I thought it was a pretty good movie, and it had Nemesis, who was a dangerous dude. Anyway, they made several homages to that series, like they brought in Carlos and Jill Valentine in that movie, and they had Nemesis being the main villain of the film. I just thought the movie was pretty good. Even though some fans would disagree, I thought it was pretty good. And I saw it twice in the theaters. That's just my opinion. I like the second one more. I watched it yesterday just to refresh my memory on the film before I made this video. And for the record, I had not seen Resident Evil Extinction. I want to see that movie, but been too much busy. But again, it's a movie I'll see when I get a chance to. Anyway, I just thought they really improved on the second one a lot, and they made several homages, like Alice does some things that Claire Redfield did in Code Veronica. Just watch the movie and you'll see. In Resident Evil Afterlife, they brought in some of the characters from Resident Evil 4 and 5 into that film. I will review that movie on DVD soon enough, but anyway, and most fans would agree that Resident Evil Degeneration is actually the best of them all, because it really was a homage to the game, because they brought in Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield, and Capcom was very pleased with the film, even though it was a direct-to-DVD and Blu-ray feature. Many fans loved the film, and I really enjoyed it. It was actually a very good CGI movie. But my point is, hating on a game based off a movie based off a game, just because it wasn't exactly like the game, it was Capcom's idea not to make it officially like the games, because they were afraid the game sales would drop. That's just my thoughts. I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts. Thank y'all for watching.